Hi, welcome back, everybody. I can't believe it's week 4 for our Oops Too Awesome number 2. So I hope you have a lot of fun today. I hope you enjoy what we're going to be doing, and I hope you learn lots. Today, we're going to be doing a forest using analogous colors. Let's go. Okay, so this is using the analogous colors blue, green, yellow, green, and yellow. So I'm on that side of the color wheel. I will show that segment in a minute because I put it in the notes for you. So that's the color scheme, but the actual paint colors that I used a paint called Payne's Gray for my shadows. Does anybody have Payne's Gray in a tube? You don't need it. I just wanted to explain
I just have a gray.
Yeah. So Payne's Gray looks black in the tube, but it has more of a blue emphasis in the mix. So it's not like Mars black, that's jet black. Payne's Gray is a very, very, very dark gray. And it's made with, I think it's burnt umber and ultramarine. So, but it has more of a blue emphasis to it. It's quite a cool color to have in your kit because it works so well with yellow ochre, and it gives you some really interesting shadows without being that kind of severe jet black. So I often use Payne's Gray, or I'll buy Payne's Gray instead of buying black, because it's just a more interesting dark shade to use. So I used Payne's Gray, but you can easily make Payne's Gray with I think it's burnt umber and ultramarine, one of the dark browns in ultramarine. Because it's got the ultramarine base, then it's a good color to work with. So I used ultramarine blue and white for my sky. So just a tiny hint of the blue, just to tie it all together. And I put a tiny bit of it reflected in the water as well. And then for my yellow, I used a warm yellow. So I used yellow ochre, which is the one that looks a little bit like mustard. And then for my greens, I did use Sap Green, but you can make it with ultramarine and the yellow ochre. So it's just, if you don't have those colors in tubes, they're very easy to make. And we're all about color mixing. But if you happen to have Sap Green, then great. It's just saves you a bit of mixing today. But if you don't have Sap Green, then it's totally fine. So that's basically it. White, Payne's Gray, black would be fine. Ultramarine blue, and yellow ochre. So, and that's how I got all of those greens.
And I ask, the light source there, is it coming from the right? Because there's shadows, or there's lights sort of in two different areas.
Yep.
On the grass, but it looks a little bit lighter from the right.
Yeah, yeah. So it was interesting the way the light was reflecting on that day, because it was a very, very bright day, so the light is kind of from the sun was very high in the sky, so it was kind of almost on the left hand side, but quite high up, so it casts this extra light in lots of different places. So if you imagine, it's very high up on the left hand side in the corner, so that's why you can see the light on the trees on the left hand side of the trees. But you can also see how there was a lot of foliage in the middle, kind of, so it was casting a big shadow here. So if that foliage hadn't been here, all of this would have been lit up. And because it was such a bright day, the sky was very bright as well. So yeah, the light was very, very interesting, but it's kind of coming from, see where the little red X is? That's kind of where it was coming this way. but it was very high up. So it did some interesting things, the light, but there was a lot of foliage in the trees high up here. So that's why there's light catching on these grasses here on the right, but not in the middle to the left. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah, it was really, really interesting to actually physically be there and see what the light was doing. And then by the time I'd sketched it all out, the light had moved. So then I had to, so that's why it's really important when you set up for plein air to take some reference photos and do a thumbnail sketch first and identify where all the lights are, because the light will move. And then you basically then using the composition, you can see in front of you for the painting, but you're using the references you took when you first set up for the light. So I watched a video of an artist the other day who spent an entire day painting. It looked like one of the mountain hills in Nevada. It was kind of he'd set up by the roadside and he kept doing speed paintings of the same scene as the light changed. And he was filming himself in hyperlapse and fast forward. It was really interesting, like all of the way the colors kept changing and the lights kept changing and the shadows. And he was doing all these speed paintings of exactly the same scene. If I can find it again, I'll share it, because it was really cool to watch and to see his creative process. He like didn't move an inch all day and he kept painting all the same scene like over and over again. So it started off kind of like kind of browns, and then it went to like yellows, and then this mountain ended up purple when it got to dusk. It was really cool to watch. So I'm just going to share with you now the notes. So I'm just going to pull up my notes while I'm am I still screen sharing?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, can you see the notes?
Just see the painting.
Can you still see the painting, or can you see the notes?
Yes, the
No
painting.
notes. The painting, no notes.
No notes. Okay, that's fine. Okay, I wasn't sure how the screen sharing works, so that's good.
In the painting, you have 3 areas in the middle that are darker.
Yeah.
Behind the trees. What is it?
So can you see the painting and the color wheel now?
Yes.
Yes, I do now. Yes.
Okay. So so you can see that I've got my blue green. So these are the analogous colors I used in this painting. And so the light distribution was interesting because of where the foliage was. But I did reflect some of that blue. So these blues are in the entire painting because I used these blues to make the greens, because they're within the sap green. But if you happen to have sap green in a tube, you can use that as well. And then the only one that's kind of missing here is the yellow green, which is this one, the kind of limey green. But this was the only one I could pull off the internet last night to show you, but it was pretty close as an example of the analogous colors. Okay, was there any more questions with that?
Julie, it's Susan. Just a comment. My computer keeps sending me notices for an update, and it's a new computer. I'm afraid it may turn itself off.
Oh no.
If it does, if you could just watch for me to try and log on again. Sorry about that.
No problem at all. We've all been there. Okay, so I wanted to quickly show you the same painting done a different way, which I showed you last week when I took you on a little tour of my house. So on the next page of the notes, which is page 8, you'll see the exact same scene. So this one was the studio painting that I did quite a while later. And I just stylized everything. So I simplified all the shapes. And this is an example of a tetrad. And a tetrad is when you take 4 colors on the color wheel And you either basically draw a square into the color wheel or you draw a rectangle in the color wheel. And then wherever the four corners touch, that's the four colors you can choose. And obviously you can swizzle it around the whole way of the color wheel. So if you position your square on green and then look at where the other four corners point, you'd have this color selection of yellow, red, green, blue. So it's often people will say to me, like, how do you choose what colors to use? How do you limit your palette when you're creating a painting? Because my problem was, to start with, I was always trying to put every color I had in my art box in the painting, and it doesn't read very well. So if you pick, you know, either analogous colors or a tetrad or a triad, you can create a huge range of colors, mixing those with each other plus black and white. But because you're using a limited palette, wherever you put paint, it's gonna kind of work and read well as a painting because you've mixed them with each other. So limiting your palette, I think, is quite a useful thing that I learned. Okay, so that's what we're going to do today. And the homework today is to work on it in your own time and hopefully complete it so that we can start on a abstract scene next week. And the abstract scene is going to be using our primary colors, but we're going to make primary, secondary, and tertiary colors. And we're only going to put in those colors 3 times each in the painting. So well, a minimum of 3, because if we have any leftover spaces, then we can but we're going to make an abstract painting. So it's going to be fun, and again, a color mixing exercise. But does everybody have their strips ready?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, okay, I'm just letting Jane in. Okay.
When you say strips, like the same like strips we did on paper with with the complementary colors, like we put red at one end and green at the other and meat in the middle. So we're going to
do them slightly differently because we're going to put them right at the end of the paper. So it's a bit like the paint swatches you get when you're choosing paint colors for your house. You can put them right up against the painting. So we're going to make like recipe cards for how we made it. But we're going to put it right up against the edge, so we can actually hold it up against the painting when we do this painting. Okay, so I'm just going to get some watercolor paper. So use whatever paper you want. You can use watercolor paper or you can use regular paper. How many strips did I just remind me, because it's been a difficult week. How many strips did I say? 3. Okay. So just give me a second while I get my watercolor paper.
And I bought this multi-purpose paper that's good for watercolor, acrylic, whatever. So
is it the blue mixed media paper?
Yes.
Yeah, I like that paper. It's good. Yeah, okay. I use that a lot. Okay, I won't be a moment. I'm just going to go back to my screen so you can look at this for a minute.
Julie, is it 8 boxes per strip like the other ones?
Yeah, like the other ones. Yeah. I think we did 7 with the other ones.
Oh, I was counting. Oh, 7. Sorry. So 7?
Yeah.
And how many again?
A minimum of 3. We may do more. And if we're on thick paper, we can use the other side as well. But let's start with our 3 and see how we go, because they are time consuming. So let's start with 3. Does everybody have yellow ochre?
Yes.
Yeah. If you don't, let me know and we can make it.
Julie, I came in late because of internet problems. I'm making my strips like a paint card.
Yeah. So I'm gonna
7.
just switch cameras and show you what I'm doing.
Yeah, like I put it at 7 for 7 blocks of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So so I should
Yeah.
move my guillotine down because I could easily chop my fingers off there. That wouldn't be a good start with it.
2.
Okay, so I'm gonna make 7. Is that what everybody else has got? 7?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do have yellow ochre, but I also have, where's the color? Yellow, cadmium yellow.
Right.
The yellow ochre is a very small tube. With the cadmium yellow, how would we mix it to get yellow ochre? Is it possible?
You use purple, but we'll start with the cadmium, and then you won't need very much at all. You'll only need a very tiny amount. So we'll start with the cadmium, and then we'll do yellow ochre as a comparison. So
Oh,
I'm gonna
make these. Oh, okay. Thin.
Julie, what do you mean we'll use yellow ochre as a comparison? You mean we'll do a strip with cad yellow and a strip with ochre?
Yeah, we'll do we'll do several strips as comparisons. As many as we can get done today. And I say we can always use the other side. If you're on watercolor paper, you should be able to use both sides too. Sorry, I was so obsessed with doing this painting today. I totally forgot about the strips. But you're right, and that was a really good suggestion by was it Jane or Jocelyn that suggested that showed us the strips? That
Jocelyn, because that's
Jocelyn.
what I had in my notes from last week.
Yeah.
We are listening to you.
I love
I
it.
have to write it
You
down.
have to
remember.
bear with me. It's been a really tough week. My husband's not been very well, so I'm sorry if I'm not quite on the ball today.
That's okay.
Hear you.
Okay, so I'm gonna cut myself some strips.
Stop doing that, Julie, so I ask a question.
Okay, yeah, because I don't want to cut my fingers off. I got a
Can
guillotine right here, and I'm like, the way my week's going, this would not be helpful because also my husband's away, so I have no one to drive me to the hospital. So let me.
Can we paint and then cut them out after they're painted?
Yep, yeah, you can do that. Yeah. Whatever works best for you. If you cut them out after you paint it, they'll probably be a neater strip. So we're making those little paint swatches that you can get. I always recommend picking up a bunch of those because they're really helpful to practice color mixing and color matching. So these do not have to be nice and neat. So if you have Payne's Gray in a tube, you can use that and have a play with it. If not, you can use Mars Black or black, whatever black you have. So we're going to start with Cadmium Yellow and black or Payne's Gray. Then we'll do, if you have yellow ochre, we'll do yellow ochre and Payne's Gray or black. Then we'll do the same exercise with yellow ochre and ultramarine blue. And then we'll do the same exercise with cadmium yellow and ultramarine blue. I'm just going to plug in my power. I'm going to get myself a fresh mixing tray.
How many strips did you want us to have? You look like you have more than I do.
Yeah, start with 3.
Okay.
And then I think everybody's got 3. So let's start with 3 and then we'll see how far we get.
Okay.
But what I'm going to do is leave a little space either at the side or at the top and just write down kind of the recipe. So I'm going to put yellow ochre, cadmium yellow for the first 2. Let's start with those 2. And then at the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, at the bottom, I'm going to put you can either do Payne's Gray or you can do Mars Black. I'm going to use Payne's Gray if you have it, if not Mars Black. So this is going to be our recipe cards. And as long as one end goes all the way to the end, I mean, these can be quick and easy. They don't have to be all super neat and tidy unless you want them to be super neat and tidy.
Payne's Gray for both of them at the bottom, right?
If you have Payne's Gray, yeah.
Okay.
Have I showed you this trick to do with paints when they start running out? Have I ever showed you this? So this is like what it used to look like. So you know when you can't get the paint out your tube anymore, you cut your tube, you cut the top off, and then you can scoop out the paint, and then you can put the top back on, like just kind of squeeze it and put it back on. I do this with like toothpaste and all sorts of stuff.
I was just going to say I use expensive toothpaste that looks like my toothpaste.
Yeah. So I end up just cutting the middle section out and using it, and then I make a new cat. And as long as you keep this part on, it tends to stay quite well. You make yourself a new look. That way you're never really throwing away paint until you really have to. Paint costs money. I have to like keep it. That's my little top trick. I also recycle any printer paper and I use it for my wet palette. So I use paper towel and used printer paper for my wet palette. Try not to waste too many things. So I like to use a smallish flat for applying this, but you know, use whatever size works for you. The key thing is when you mix a color, it's really tempting to just put it on straight away. But if your brush is too loaded, then you know, you're going to get a lot of overlap. And so I tend to mix it in a small amount, and then do the wipe, rinse, wipe, so that I have control over my brush.
Is this a 4 or a 2 that you've got there?
This one is, it's been labeled wrong. This says number 6, but I don't think it's a 6. It's more like a 3, 4.
Okay.
So always start with the lightest color first.
What colors are we using? The yellows and
So I'm using, this one is going to be cadmium
Purple.
yellow
yes.
and either paint gray or black, whichever you have.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
No worries. So Chris won't be joining us for the rest of the session. I'm going to record them for her because she's broken her leg.
Oh,
Oh, no.
Yeah.
so this is cadmium yellow just by itself.
This is cadmium yellow by itself.
Do you put a lot on your palette, or are we gonna use? Oh yeah, because we're gonna be using it for different.
Yeah,
colors.
you're going to be using it. I find when you're color mixing, having a wet palette is really useful because it doesn't dry out when you've mixed the color that you really want. So this is where a Tupperware container with a layer of paper towel that you wet a little bit and then put a piece of paper on top. Is anybody else using a wet palette?
I am.
Yeah, perfect. Doesn't have to be expensive, just a shallow Tupperware container.
I use the Palma pasta ravioli lasagna containers.
Excellent. Do they work well?
Good enough for me.
Good. So the challenge here is getting a gradual change to paint gray without going too dark too quick. Yellow to paint gray is quite a big shift because yellow is so light on the color, on the value scale. So I'm gonna, can you see my mixing tray? I tried to use a small one today so you can see them side by side. What I'm going to try and do is just add a very small amount at a time and build up slowly. So I'd rather start off with far too little, like just a tiny little corner of my brush. Am I spotlighted? I think I am. Yeah. Just moving things over a little bit. Okay. So let's add
Ex-
a very small amount of our Payne's Grey, just like the corner of my brush. And so we're just adding a really tiny amount to that. Actually might be too much. It's amazing how even just a pinprick amount can make it quite green instantly. Well, maybe not too bad. Let's work with that. This was like literally that much. It's ultramarine based with brown. I think it's burnt. I'm sure it's burnt umber. Okay, so not much difference here. It's not until you put it on the strip, that might not be enough difference. I'll have to see once I start adding. That might not be enough Payne's Grey, but we'll see how it dries, because it might dry differently. Maybe I was too conservative with it.
It's hard to know how much to mix
I know.
because you don't want to waste your paint, but at the same time, you have to have enough to.
Well, the nice thing about this is we're going to keep adding to it to get darker. So if you mix too
okay.
much, we're going to
Mhm.
keep adding more gray to it, the same pot.
Okay.
So each time I'm just going to add maybe that much. Oh, that went too dark. Okay, that was far too much. We don't want to go too green too soon. That was just that amount. You see how much greener it went? So that was my first amount. And that was my second amount. That was number one. That was number two. How dark it went. So you won't know till you put it on your strip. It looks different.
You wipe your brush every time?
Yeah. Yeah. Gauging the amount to put on is tricky.
Hmm.
I wipe if I feel like I need to. I mean, just
Because it wastes a lot of paint. That
yeah,
way.
it's more we wipe when we're using you know, if I was to try and paint a straight line with this much paint on my brush, I wouldn't get any control over my brush. So I would say just use your judgment as to, you know, what are you actually painting? If you're going to be painting a tree or something, you'll need more precision with your brush. So you can't have like a fully loaded brush.
Okay.
That's interesting. I feel like my first one, that one went too dark. My first one went too light.
You almost need a toothpick to apply the Payne's Grey.
I know. Crazy. Hey, you end up with like lots of different pots of color on your palette until you get it right. I feel like this one I need to put a second coat, but I'm just really worried about going too dark. There we go. I think I got it right now. So those people using Mars Black will get different colors, but you'll still get interesting greens. So do you remember when we did our yellow to purple strip? And then it's good to see the comparisons.
All right.
I've just got to very quickly answer this phone. It's my husband. I want to just make sure it's not an emergency. Are you okay if I just take this for a second?
Yeah.
Of course.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
Yes.
back. Okay. Okay, so let's keep going with this. So your fourth one should be looking more green and less yellow. That's the same as my other one. I need to add some more. But you're right, you almost do need a toothpick. And also when you add, if you do 2 coats, if you let it dry and add 2 coats, it looks different. But don't forget, acrylics dry 1 or 2 shades darker.
So when we're ready to mix our paint to do a painting, how are we gonna know how many drops we did for this? You know, like
Well, the reason why we're doing this is because we're going to mix it on our palette and then we're going to put it on a little paper next to our tester strip so we can see what it's going to look like before we apply it to the painting. So we just, that's why I always have little scraps of paper with me whenever I paint. I mean, hopefully this is a learning, you know, we're learning as we go as well. Just by the process of mixing now, we'll remember next time. But if you have room, you could make yourself little notes. But that is the challenge. So we're just going to work our way in your own time down the strip. I would say just add a really small amount at a time, but you won't know really until you apply it what it's going to look like. The reason why I get you to do things like this is so that you don't, when you're mixing, when you're actually painting, you don't put too much of one color, and you kind of understand the ratios a little bit more. I found this very useful just to get my head around the ratios of, it's not just mixing black and yellow together. There's a kind of a recipe of how much of each. And different paint brands as well will dictate how much you mix.
Julie, my aha moment from our color theory was when we were looking at the values of the color wheel, like where yellow's the lightest value.
Yeah.
Something like that I now realize if I'm doing comparable values, it's about 50-50 mixing. But if you're doing a 1 on the value with a 9 on the, or an 8 on the value, like we are now, go really slow with the
Absolutely.
9. So that was very useful.
Yeah. It's useful if the color wheel that we painted in our first session last term, if you photocopy that in black and white, and then you can see the values. Yeah, it was an aha moment for me too. I remember that. I think purple is basically black when you photocopy it, and yellow is very, very light gray when you photocopy it. Just gonna quickly dry this for a second.
Julie, do you have a picture of the pane gray I'm trying to go for? Because I'm using the black, I don't have gray.
Oh, just use black. Yeah, it looks like black. It's this one. It looks like black. Just use black. Don't try and make paint gray. Just use black if you don't have paint gray. Paint
Okay,
gray is basically a black, but it's more blue based.
I see. Okay, thank you.
So don't worry about making it. Yeah, it was just in case you had it. It won't make that much of a difference.
Julie, you've got 8 squares on your strip?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes.
Okay, I did set. I made. Should I
7
make
or 8 is fine. Doesn't have to be. It's just getting a slow transition from yellow to black. So don't worry if it's. You can 7, 8, or 9 is fine. Oh, I like this one. Look how rich this one is. This is my almost completely black or gray. That's like really, really nice, like sap green. So that's the sap green you would get in a tube. If I was to get out sap green now and show you.
Excuse me, Laura. Julie, I missed which square did you point to as sap green?
So this is sap green, the last. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is number 7.
Number 7.
But
Okay,
I'm
it's
going
sort
to do
of
a
a
little
guide.
comparison and show you. This is real sap green in a tube,
Mhm.
and this is the see how close that is.
Yes. I
So
think
sap
my-
green, if you bought it, is basically just cad yellow paint gray.
Yeah, this one, this one, oh, I have lousy light here.
Is it Artist
Oh.
Loft?
Yes,
Yeah,
it's a
the sap-
brighter green than that one.
Yeah, look, this is Artist. See how like it varies so much in brand. So this is
Yes.
sap green Artist Loft, and
That's
this
what I
is-
have.
So
Yeah.
that's like, and then this is sap green golden, which is
Almost black.
a lot more pigment. Yeah.
Golden sap green is like infinitely darker than every other line of sap green.
It is, yeah.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Because this is the like the gold
Okay.
standard, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Golden's what I asked for Christmas when you know, I wouldn't buy them for myself.
No, you know, like when we were doing it the last strips, we did both ends and then we did the middle, and
Yeah.
it helped to graduate, to make it more gradual. And I'm finding I go too dark too fast.
Yeah. So the only reason why I didn't do that is because we're basically going to black. So, but if
Yeah.
it's helpful to do that, I just didn't want to contaminate, even if we had a tiny bit of black on our brush or in our water, it would really affect the value scale. So
Oh,
that's why I didn't
that's
do
true.
it with this, because yellow to black is such a delicate transition. But if it helps, have a different brush and different water so there's no contamination with it. But if you want to do that, by all means do that.
Is your last one just paint gray, or did you
That's
still?
just paint gray.
Okay, okay.
And I'm going to do another layer on these because I've got a bit of transparency kind of affecting what it looks like. So I'm going to do another layer.
Julie, can you
Yeah.
look at, is mine at the bottom too green?
Let's see. Sorry, who's speaking?
Jane, sorry,
Sorry,
Jane.
Jane. Sorry, Jane. Give me a second. I've just...
No worries. Like chemistry.
Yeah,
I
it's so
love it.
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, Jane, that looks lovely. Yeah. I would say, oh, I love how you've done your strip.
Yeah, it's only 7, but that's okay.
Yeah, I like how you've made them nice and thick and long. Yeah.
But is that dark enough, or should I just add a bit more black? I seem to be adding more black at the bottoms.
Is your bottom one pure paint gray?
Well, I don't know what it is. It's
Did you use just paint gray out of a tube for your bottom one, or did you
I
add
don't
any
have a
other?
Payne's gray.
Oh, right. Okay. Did you use just black in the bottom one?
No,
So
that's
the
what I
bottom,
need to do.
yeah, the bottom one's your pure. So the top and bottom are your pure colors.
Okay, that's what
Yeah.
I've done. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll get that done. Thanks.
Sorry if I wasn't.
Well, no, I
There we
missed
go.
some, right? Because my internet's been a, anyway, I'm here.
Good, you made it.
I'm glad I didn't cut them out, because if they're not getting dark enough, I just keep adding squares.
Oh, I
Good
like it. That's good. That's a good idea.
Oh, that worked. Good.
Yeah. Are we good?
Yeah, I went over my writing and I just added a bit of black at the bottom. So
Good.
it's not exactly the same size, but
Perfect. That doesn't
Work.
matter.
no, it worked.
So we just start the next one with ochre.
Yeah.
Since I have Payne's gray on my brush, can I do the dark one on the next one? First?
Yeah. Yeah. I would say just use 2 different water containers. Oh, I've had a little happy accident. I tried to put a second coat and I did what I tell people not to do. I didn't change my water and it's gone. Oh man. You know, they always say don't do what I do, just do as I say. Oh, that's
It's my motto.
yeah. Oh man. I'm a little bit annoyed with myself now.
Hi, Julie. Anita here. We don't
Hey.
have, hi, we don't have the next color that you're talking about. We just have vivid yellow. Trish and I, we have vivid yellow. So what do you suggest?
Okay. So do you have purple in a tube?
More like a violet.
Yep.
I don't know if Trish has violet, but she has the same paint as I do.
Okay. So
Yeah.
can I see what it looks like?
The violet or the,
Yeah.
oh, how do I do that? Let's see here, start video. Okay, so we have vivid yellow.
Yeah.
And what was the other color?
Do you have purple?
I just have
Yes.
this.
Purple, yeah.
Yeah. So you need to mix a decent amount because you don't want to remix it because you don't want to change the color. So you want to kind of make it and then, so you want to make yellow ochre and you'll make it with a little drop of the, so do you remember when we did the yellow to purple color strip?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
you want to get a whole bunch of that vivid yellow and just add a tiny bit of purple to it to get this yellow ochre color, the mustard color. So I'm going to put some of this out so you can see what it looks like.
So what's the end color going to be? Will it be black on the strip?
It will be
from
black. Yeah, it will be
Okay,
black.
so we're going from yellow ochre, which is our vivid yellow with a bit of
Purple.
violet. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to show you what it looks like.
Yeah. So it becomes what, more mustardy or what?
Yeah. So you see how it's like a mustard?
Uh-huh.
So I'm going to paint it on to show you what it looks like when it's pure. But you should be able to find it on that strip you did of yellow to purple. So this is yellow ochre. It just looks like mustard.
Okay.
Like Dijon mustard.
Okay.
Rather than English mustard. We're more of the
so it's a
Dijon.
brown, it's a brown mustard. A brown or yellow. Okay. All right,
So
let's try
you
that.
could have a look on your yellow to purple color strip that you made
Uh-huh.
and see how that'll tell you how much yellow to put into it. I can get out mine and show you if you want.
So this is mine.
Yeah.
This is from yellow.
Yeah,
to
so the
purple.
second one down. The second one down.
So you're
that's
talking about
perfect.
this one.
That
Okay.
one, yeah, that's perfect.
So that's yellow with a bit of purple. Okay. And we're going down to black. Wow, this is cool. I like this exercise.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah, I like it.
I tell you what, I was very stressed before I started with you today, and now I'm painting just little squares. It's totally put me in my happy place.
Yeah, me too. And I actually watched your video of the last class.
Yeah,
No, the one before.
yeah.
And I'm going to watch the next one because actually the videos are, even though we attended the class, the videos are really helpful. Really,
Oh,
really
good.
helpful. Yeah, because
So-
all the stuff that I missed because I'm trying to concentrate, I'm missing it.
I'm so glad. All I do with the videos is I just chop out when I've, when one of you has been showing me your work or focusing, just for your privacy, I just chop that out so that you're not on camera.
Yeah, thank you. So this one's called,
Unless you want to be a YouTube sensation, and then I'll leave you on. Maybe I'll get more followers. Will be like, wow, that Anita, the one that looks like Jamie Lee Curtis. I want to see more of her.
Vivid yellow.
And Jocelyn with the sexy accent. I want to see more of her. Jocelyn, I want to hire you to read out my mind. I'm doing mindfulness audiobooks. And I want you to read some out because your accent is so dreamy.
Would it be relaxing for people though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listening to you say, close your eyes and let's breathe deeply. You'd make me relaxed.
Maybe if you had a male voice with that accent.
Oh
yeah, maybe you're McGregor or something. Okay, so if it helps people, I'm going to use a different brush and put down my Payne's Gray at the bottom. So this is why I say keep 2 water containers, one for clean and one for... What I do is I have my clean one. So I have my dirty one that I do my rinse, wipe, rinse, and then I'll use my clean one for the final rinse. I also have brush cleaners in the bottom of my cups, which make a big difference. If ever I go and they've got some, because they're always sold out, I'll just buy a whole bunch and I'll get them all. I'll get you all a brush cleaner as my Christmas present to you. Because they're only 99 cents, but they're the most useful thing ever to have in the bottom of your cup. Now, if I do this, I don't know whether you can see, Payne's Gray is almost like a very navy blue. I don't know whether you can see in the light. It's almost a navy blue Payne's Gray. It's just more on the blue side of black. But you'll see when we work, we do this transition, you might see more of the greens.
What make of ochre are you using, Julie?
The ochre I'm using Winsor and Newton.
My golden ochre is almost like caramel.
Yeah, I find the golden pigments are a lot more saturated.
What should I? I don't know if you want to see it. It's really caramel.
It's because they have more pigment and the carrier is more expensive. So
Should I add yellow? Here, do you want to see it first, or should I just go with it?
just go with it. I wouldn't play with it. Just go with it. So I'm using a golden Payne's Gray and a Winsor & Newton yellow ochre. So I'm going to start with a little pinprick amount on my Payne's Gray. So this should just darken my ochre a little bit.
So when you do these strips, not only should you note the color, but the make of paint.
Yeah. Well, write it on the back or write it at the bottom. Because you might find that, you know, next time you do this, you're using a different brand when you're actually applying it to a painting. I mean, it's more just to see what happens when you add different quantities of two different colors rather than it being, you know.
Absolute.
So yeah, trying to think what the word was. Let's not get too stressed about this. It's like we should listen to some Enya or something while we're doing this. Oh, that's gone a bit. Does anybody want me to put some music on while we do it, or are you happy just
The quality over Zoom makes it not enjoyable.
right?
So what color? Okay, so you're going in a new green direction, starting with the ochre yellow, right?
Yeah. So
So
so I
our
just wanted
strips
you
will
to
look
see
similar.
the comparison between our cadmium yellows going down to Payne's Gray and our yellow ochres going down to Payne's Gray, because we get more moss greens.
Okay.
And it'll be more subtle. And then we'll do one where we do ultramarine two with these two. Yeah, the ochre will be a lot more subtle transition because yellow ochre is not as high on the value scale. So if we were to photocopy yellow ochre with a black and white photocopier and cadmium yellow, yellow ochre would be about a 4, and cadmium yellow would be about 2.
Excuse me,
Hi.
Julie, hi. I missed it. I just went, I changed my water. You said then the next one after the yellow ochre strip, then we go ultramarine to,
Yeah, so
well,
when we've done our yellow ochre to Payne's Gray, we're going to do cadmium yellow to ultramarine.
okay.
And then we'll do yellow ochre to ultramarine if we, you know, seeing how much time we've got. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we do both yellows to ultramarine,
Yeah.
or no, these two are to the gray, the black or the gray, and then the other two are to ultramarine
Yeah.
at the end.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, you could go on for a long time with this. You could try then going 2 yellows to cobalt blue, and then you could do both yellows to phthalo blue, and then you could do it to cerulean blue. You know, we could keep going. So, you know, if you enjoy painting strips, you could, you know, you could spend the rest of the week doing lots of different variations. Depends on how much you love painting strips.
My strip, they look so much alike.
Yeah. Yeah. I know it's very subtle at the transition. It's funny because when I look at the camera, I can see more of a difference than when I actually look with my naked eye.
Yeah.
My naked eye doesn't look like there's much of a change.
That's why they suggest taking pictures of your artwork as you
Yeah,
progress to
yeah,
see if
exactly.
you've got enough value differentiation.
Yeah, because your eye plays tricks on you, really. Yeah. Or I do things like I'll look at it through my phone, or I'll look at it in a mirror. Even looking at it in a mirror, you know, things look different. See, my eye is picking up that there's no difference here, but the camera is picking up a difference. So that's kind of interesting. So what's interesting, if we put these strips side by side, this is why I'm going all the way to the end, so I can use these strips and put them right up against my paintings. If we put the strips side by side, it's really interesting seeing the comparison with without any white space in between. Yeah, it's very subtle, the change, especially on this last one. But it's interesting that my cadmium yellow, when it's one level before Payne's grey, and my yellow ochre, when it's one level before Payne's grey, look very similar. As they get darker, they look very, see, these two look really similar. Be interested to see what they look like when they dry, but those two look really similar. And a fun thing to do is to go to a paint shop and pick out all of the paint strips that are kind of in the yellows, because this is, you know, how they make the paints, and then just kind of see, you know, get like a yellow to dark, and then a, you know, more of a mustard to dark, and just, you know, you can even like cut them out and put them next to each other. You have some fun with, you can learn a lot from those paint strips. So my next one is going to be it's going to be Cadmium Yellow to Ultramarine. I love Ultramarine. It's like such a beautiful blue. But again, depends on what brand. I'm using Liquitex, and I know this is a much stronger pigment than if I was to use Winsor & Newton Ultramarine. I'm going to change my water in a minute. Jocelyn, what colors did you mix in your other class to get your greens? Which were how many combinations did you have? Is she there? Jocelyn, are you there? Sorry.
Yes, I'm here.
What paint shades did you use to get all of your greens when you did your color mixing?
I don't think I got that class.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Did you do was that the
No,
very
I
first
meant
class?
I meant Jane. Sorry, I meant Jane.
It's okay.
Sorry.
Actually,
Got my
Julie,
J's mixed up.
Julie, it was Susan that showed you the greens.
Susan, I'm sorry. I told you I'm not on the ball today. I've not had a lot of sleep. My husband
Um,
wasn't well in the night and I've not had a lot of sleep.
I'm so sorry, Julie. We mixed cool, the yellows were a cool yellow, like Hansa or Cad Light, Cad Medium, and the blues were, we also did Ochre.
Right.
And the blues were Ultramarine blue and phthalo blue.
Did you do
And then you did every combination. So you did a cool yellow with a cool blue, a cool yellow with a warm blue,
right?
you know, and then so you had many different combinations.
Did you do yellow ochre to black or paint gray on that exercise?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it is really interesting.
This was an intro to acrylics, and
Right.
the instructor was of the opinion that there was no green in a tube that looked great. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, on my, like, I've got 40-50 different greens on that exercise, and they all look more natural than what you'd
Wow.
see out of a tube.
Isn't that cool? That's really good. Good for you. And to have the patience to mix all those.
We weren't this careful. We just blobbed the colors on them.
I don't mind if you want to blob. I'm comparing yellows. That one's the Artist Loft yellow, and that's the Winsor Newton yellow. I'm gonna go.
So we're gonna use cadmium yellow and the
Cadmium yellow
aquamarine
and
blue.
ultramarine. Yeah.
Ultramarine, okay.
Yeah, I
Julie,
agree
we
with you.
have-
You're the teacher. You don't really need to buy greens.
Julie, Trish and I have cobalt blue.
Yeah, do it with that then. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll get different because cobalt's like a warm blue, so you'll get different blues, but yeah, just have
Okay.
fun with it.
So we're going from our vivid yellow to our cobalt blue.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you
I
also
have to
just
say, our other strips, mine, by the time I get to the third square, they look kind of the same all the way down.
maybe it mixing too much too soon, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we were starting with the same yellow.
Right.
And added purple. Oh, well, it's still fun.
Yeah, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's just about learning, you know, as we go. Yeah, it's like science. We're just doing some mixing.
Mm-hmm. I want to get, I shop at Michael's because you get the coupons.
Yeah.
So I want to invest in better paints.
I would say that the Winsor and Newton are a good one. That's I use those a lot, and that's what my college recommended.
Okay, I'm gonna write that now.
as a
Who's ever talking, go online and check your prices. I find that for good paints,
Yeah.
Michael doesn't have a lot of turnover because they're 2 to 3 times the price.
they really are, yeah.
of
Really?
everybody. Yeah.
Oh,
There-
yeah.
I bought a few tools. I bought a roller and it was $15 at Desairs. It was $37 at the same brand, the same everything at Michael's. So you
Yeah.
know your prices.
Yeah,
So
Michael's
where, when you go online, where online, like another craft
you can-
store? Or?
well, yeah, no, you can go to the Desairs or Curry's website.
Curry's,
Oh.
yeah.
And if you
Curry.
have an AGO membership or a membership at many art clubs, you can get another 10% off at Desairs. Curry's used to do that, but they don't do it anymore.
Okay, and then they have different brands there of paint, don't they?
Yeah,
Other than
Curry's.
the-
I haven't been to Desserts, but Curry's I used a lot. And sometimes Amazon you can get good deals on paint, but then you can pay far too much. You have to kind of really know what things should cost. But Michael's are always overpriced. It's silly because they just work on the theory that everybody's going to use the coupons. I don't know why they don't just price everything better.
Good to know. Yeah. I have a Curry's, I think, near me. No, I have the other one, D
Desserts?
something.
Desserts, yeah.
Yeah, Winston Church, Highway 5 and
Yeah, it's right at the 403 in Dundas.
yeah,
It's
that, yeah.
near
So that's a-
Henry, Pet Value.
Yeah, so that you're saying the prices are better there?
If you go online to the Desairs website, you can see all the prices and compare directly with Michael's.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I have a shopping list PDF I can send you as to what paint colors I recommend.
Oh, that would be helpful.
And I'm even happy to come shopping with you because the excuse to go and shop at art supplies, I'm happy to come on a shopping trip with you.
Why don't we plan that?
Yeah, let's do like a little, because I need to restock on a few colors as well.
That would be really educational and fun.
And Curry's has had free shipping if you don't want to eat. I don't know
Yeah.
if they're doing it now, but and Desairs, I don't think you have to have a very high limit to get free.
I don't know where Curry's is anymore. They used to be on Iroquois Shore near me, but they're not there.
The Oakville one's closed. It's just the Hamilton one.
Yeah,
Oh.
or if you're in the east end of Oakville, there's one at Dundas and Cawthra.
Okay.
So I just want to show you something while I'm painting. So you see this green that's almost ultramarine. It's very much a blue green. This is phthalo green that I'm making now with ultramarine and cadmium yellow. So again, this comes in a lot of the sets that Winsor & Newton do, but phthalo green is ultramarine with a little bit of cad yellow in it. Which is handy to know.
Just one more comment on supplies. Call before you go. I've been shopping more online because there's more supply, whereas
Yeah.
the individual stores since COVID, the supply chain, like I might call Hamilton Curry's and they've got 2 of the colors I want, but not
Yeah.
the other 3. And then it's,
Yeah.
we have one. So I encourage you to go online if you know what you
Okay.
want.
Yeah, that's a really good advice. Yeah, there's been problems with supply chains with everything, really. I ordered a fridge a few weeks ago and it's not coming till probably after Christmas.
Hmm.
Yeah, so this green is phthalo green. This one here, which is the ultramarine and the cad yellow. Amazon did have very reasonably priced, a reasonably priced Winsor and Newton set,
Mhm.
but they sold out very quickly. And I noticed they've put their price up now to where it should be. It's like, don't. Because I was like telling all my students, go on Amazon. They've got Winsor and Newton like really cheap.
Amazon prices like hotels and airlines.
Yeah.
The more demand and less inventory, they keep upping the price.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's interesting to compare your cadmium yellow to black or cadmium yellow to Payne's gray to your cadmium yellow to ultramarine. The yellow ochre to Payne's gray are almost brown. They're just kind of all. I bet you if you took these outside and looked in the daylight, they'd look quite different. I'm in my basement with the LEDs, so everything looks quite different.
You can adjust the shade of your LEDs though, can't you, Julie? Like from
Not the
daylight.
overhead ones. I've got Costco ones and they came in big strips. So they're about a meter by a third of a meter. They're pretty big. There's no adjustables on those ones, but my LED that I use, my ring light I use for filming has I can change it to warm or cool. Yeah, because I know the LED lights I bought for upstairs I can change, but I think that these strip ones that I got, well, I think once they're installed you can't, because they're kind of sunk into the ceiling. But that's okay. It's still I think they're supposed to be like the closest thing to daylight. They're quite a nice color. They're nice and bright anyway, compared to how my basement used to be. Excuse me. So that's the three alongside each other for now. I'm gonna write what this one is. So this is my cad yellow. The idea is you keep these strips, and then when you're looking for a green, as Susan has used, then you can kind of see that's the green I want, and that's how I made it, rather than which, you know, I need to go buy 5 different greens. And Anita, you'll get some interesting ones with your cobalt blue.
Yeah, they're all very different than the other ones, but I'm just about to do the cobalt and then we can show you.
I'm gonna go change my water in a second. I'm just gonna put my pure ochre down. So I'm doing ochre to ultramarine in a minute, and just put my pure ochre down first.
I feel they're all fairly similar
Yeah,
all the way down, like to compare the strips, I mean.
yeah.
But yeah, we are using dollar store paint, so that makes a difference too.
Yeah, there's just less pigment.
Yeah, for sure.
But the good when you're just starting out and you need, I use those when I make up paint kits for paint nights.
Yeah.
Because, you know, especially if people are only expecting to use them once or twice. But I think if you're painting on a regular basis, it's worth getting.
Yeah, I think it'll be more enjoyable for us if we have better paint.
Yeah. So I'm happy to go shopping with you.
Okay, so I'll show you what this looks like between the 3. Just one sec.
Oh, wow, look at those. Oh, yeah. They look great.
So the cobalt blue is quite light.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what are we doing now between ochre? So we have to make ochre again.
Ochre to ultramarine.
Okay. All right, I gotta make a new strip too.
Now another interesting green combo is when you do orange, but do the yellow orange to ultramarine rather than red, because red orange to ultramarine will just make brown. But if you do yellow orange to ultramarine, you get another whole set of greens, which is interesting. I have got literally 4 mixing plates on going on.
Julie.
Yeah, hi.
I highlighted the person that was showing us her strips, and now I can't get you back on.
Oh, okay.
How do I do that?
Go to the top right hand corner and click view.
Stop video.
Do you see the top right hand corner? There's like 9 little squares and it says view. You should be able to switch to speaker.
More participant, maybe. No, I don't have one that says view.
Do you want an iPad?
Yes.
I have spotlighted myself, so
okay.
What I'll do is I'll reset all the pins.
Okay.
Let me just reset.
I got you.
You got me, okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. It's interesting, this ultramarine, yellow ochre to ultramarine, I'm getting kind of teals. Some really interesting teals. see the tail, like the, this is really interesting. I don't know if I've ever made this particular color strip, the yellow ochre to ultramarine, but I'm really enjoying these teals. I think you'll all find this one really fun. Is it really bad? I get so excited about color strips. I get really nerdy about color strips. Like, look at these teals, are they nice? My inner nerd is coming out. Okay, I'm gonna go change my water before I get too nerdy. I think the that ochre to ultramarine was my favorite one. Oh, really fabulous colors. If anybody wants to paint with me this evening, we're painting this guy. This is the paint night at 8 p.m. tonight. We're painting a little fall gnome just for fun. It's quite fun. I'm doing a gnome series where we're doing like a winter gnome, fall gnome, spring gnome, little gnome in a swimsuit.
For next week's painting, which color palette are we going to use?
So we're going to use this palette
Okay.
plus white.
Okay.
So we're going to be using all these strips. Which was your favorite?
I like the cadmium to the blue.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is line up the tube colors that correspond with each strip. So this is phthalo green in a tube. So this is your cad yellow to ultramarine. So that's your phthalo green. And I put that there. Okay. Then you have your yellow ochre, sorry, cad yellow to paint gray. So that is your sap green. And then you've got your ochre to ultramarine, which I don't have in a tube, but basically this is your, there's a teal green you can buy. I can't remember what the name is. And then this one is quite an interesting one. This one's kind of a sap green, but more a little less kind of bright. So it's kind of more of a sap green with an umber in it, really, like a more like a raw sienna. Actually, let me go see if I've got one in a tube. Yeah, raw sienna. I knew it was raw sienna. So this is raw sienna. So what's interesting is the second one down on yellow ochre to paint gray is raw sienna. So there's raw sienna. So I would say if I mix raw sienna with sap green, there's probably a green on the market you can buy that's like these two together. But these two particularly are the two I would normally buy in a tube, which we've made today. And then what's interesting is this cad yellow to ultramarine. There's a lime green. Which I didn't buy. I was given this one, but this one is quite a nice lime green, and that's kind of the second one down on my cad yellow to ultramarine. It's kind of lime green. It's interesting, you know, if you do have any greens in tubes, see if you can match them up with what you've made.